What's going on, fine citizens? We are going north of the border to Montreal and the Bell Center for this weekend's big UFC 158 card. Headlined by Georges St-Pierre taking on Nick Diaz for the 170-pound title. I'll get to that epic tilt in a minute, but I have to mention that this will be the first card in UFC history where the top three bouts feature a fighter coming off a win versus a fighter coming off a loss. As Middleweight Champ GSP with a 23-2 MMA record, 17-2 in the UFC, takes on former Strikeforce, WEC, and IFC Welterweight Champ Nick Diaz, who has a 26-8 MMA record and a paltry 7-5 record in the UFC. For nearly 2 years, Diaz has constantly expressed his desire to challenge the current champion. St-Pierre and Diaz were originally scheduled to fight at UFC 137. Diaz vacated his Strikeforce Welterweight Championship title prior to his bout with GSP. However, UFC President Dana White made the decision to remove Diaz and replace him with Carlos Condit due to his constant absence from press events and his reluctance to take part in media appearances. But only weeks after the announcement, St-Pierre was sidelined due to a knee injury that forced him to take a 19-month hiatus. To delay things even more, the Nevada State Athletic Commission announced in May 2012 that Diaz was suspended for 1 year, retroactive to February 4, 2012. Diaz was eligible to return to UFC competition in February 2013. Despite his last loss to Condit before the suspension, Diaz defeated 10 of his previous 11 opponents by KO or submission. Despite Diaz's trash-talking and the animosity that surrounds the fight, St-Pierre says he's never been more motivated to return to the octagon and face Diaz. Here's a quote from GSP. Quote, "He's the most disrespectful human being I've ever met, and I'm going to put the worst beating you've ever seen on him in the UFC." End quote. St-Pierre, who owns a perfect record of 10 wins and no defeats in his native Canada, has the chance to tie MMA legend Matt Hughes for the most wins in UFC history at 18. He could also pass Hughes' record for most total title defenses in UFC welterweight history with 8. In his last fight, St-Pierre successfully defended his title against Carlos Condit at UFC 154, winning via unanimous decision. Despite being hurt in the third round due to a head kick, St-Pierre held down Condit and defended multiple submission attempts, earning the Fight of the Night honors for his performance. Current odds right now have GSP at -465, Nick Diaz +365. I don't see much value in taking St-Pierre at -465, but I will say this. He is not going to lose this fight. Till next time, I'm Dan the Man. Believe in the dream.